This conference will now be recorded.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
This is Ron. It's October the 19th, 2020. This is a special meeting of the Dayton Town Council. We are holding this hearing by telephone because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the compliance with the governor's executive orders. We had just a couple items of business today to review and maybe tweak the budget for 2021 and to approve a few bills that were sent to us more than 5 days ago. We will sign individual APVs for these bills instead of requiring them to be on the next month's claim docket. Present on the phone line are our town attorney, Reed, our town clerk, Michelle, budget consultant, Janet, that we hired to assist Michelle, and members of the town council who will now identify themselves by roll call. Jen?
Here.
Stan?
Here.
Carla?
Here.
Ashley?
Here.
And this is Ron. I'm here, so all 5 of us are here. Again, I'd like to thank Janet for making herself available for this call. I'll start with a question for you, Janet. Can you tell what our actual levy is for this year for 2020? The Form 3 shows it is only $196,557, and so do other DLGF forms. We asked for $290,427, which is more than what the estimated maximum levy was. Do you know why our levy was reduced so much?
No, I don't know, but I can tell you based on your 2020 budget order exactly what it is. I can also tell you from your, so there were, there's a number of forms, and I don't, if I start telling you too much, I have a habit of doing that. So, yeah, it's awful. So the first, the process, you go through your budget adoption, then they issue the 1782, and then the 1782 goes back, and then the state issues the budget order, and then they issue another notice, which is the circuit breaker report. And on your circuit breaker, which is the final, it's after the county auditor issues the abstract, they certify your levy pre-circuit breaker, which your circuit breaker is so tiny it seems silly to even bring it up, but your certified levy for Tippecanoe was $204,325.38 in total. Your circuit breaker was $253.01. Your property tax levy for the general fund was certified at $196,437. And the second page is not popping up, so I'm going to go pull it up. So you levy funds for general fund, and you have a ordinance levying money for cum cap D. So I do note for the record that the approved levy is significantly lower than what I would have expected it to be based on your allowed levy for 20, let me pull that, for 2021, the maximum levy allowed starting for 2020 is reported in a maximum levy worksheet as 242,467. But there's already a bit of confusion because the July levy estimate is even less than the levy estimate that was published. So on your public notice of your proposed budget, the state indicated, and this is hard coded. I did not code this in. Your estimated civil maximum levy for 2021 is 260,543. So did I just pile on?
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. Okay, thank you. I'll open the floor up to other council members. Anybody have any questions or comments or?
I do have a question. This is Jen. Janet, I was just wondering, do towns ever practice accrual accounting? So like if
No.
Okay.
No. So, and I say that very quickly because Indiana municipal government in Indiana is fund accounting and it's cash basis. The only time you might see accrual, meaning based on planned expenditures, encumbered obligations, is in the utility area, water and sewer, and electric. I sometimes see it there.
Okay.
Sorry, I know it's disappointing. They have their own manual.
Because
It's little. Okay.
Yeah, I was just asking because we have bills that came in January, but they were actually from work performed in December, and so now they're showing as expenses now, like this year.
Yes, and that's really hard. In order to plan for that, some units, if they were aware of the fact that those obligations existed, could encumber them, but they have to do that in December. And the encumbrance process requires that the bills be presented and like an old-fashioned purchase order be assigned to them. I say that because most units only use a claim form now, but
Yeah.
you can encumber any item that has already been incurred, but say it's in shipping, or there's been a partial delivery but not a whole delivery. You can't pay until the whole delivery is made. Or an example I use often is you start a road project in October, the weather turns ugly, and it can't be completed until the spring. So to bridge the one fiscal year into the next fiscal year, you would simply issue an encumbrance. So it's modified accrual, if that helps.
Yeah, that makes sense. I understand.
I don't think it'll help you this year, but it certainly is something to consider for next year, or for this year going into next year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess I can keep going if nobody else has anything. So I don't love this budget. I'm not super comfortable with it. I know that we have increased attorney fees and increased insurance, but this increases our budget more than $90,000 over the year before. And we didn't get any information about where we are with our spending. And I know in the past, we haven't spent nearly what's budgeted, but I'm wondering if we can get this budget reduced closer down to like the 2020 level.
You certainly can do. So when I plugged everything in, I always do defensive budgeting, and because you have very strong cash, I wasn't too concerned about it, and I assumed that you would probably do some cutting. But I went through and I looked at the line items as I poked them in, and I just want to say, basically, I did that based on my experience. Of course, you don't, as long as you don't spend it, it never leaves. I did want to talk to you about the line items and the reasons for them being set where they were. And if I can just run through those real quick, and of course, and I fully expect that you will dial them back. The salary, so can I start with general fund, or would you like me to start with casino?
I'm fine with you starting with general.
Okay. So council salary, clerk treasurer salary, county marshal salary, and the deputies, those were just, and wages of laborers. I just did 3% increases, and that is what I consider a defensive budget in case your salary ordinance includes increases. And because you don't have to give any of those raises, the salary ordinance is going to dictate that. It's actually safe money because it can't be spent unless you authorize it. The perf I didn't change. The town FICA that was budgeted last year was high based on even my estimations here. So FICA is generally 7.45%. And when I was encoding your budget, the prior year amount was pretty high, so I dialed it back. PERF, 20,000 is the same as last year. Your unemployment appeared to be underfunded, but I don't know what your attrition rate is, employee-wise. Health insurance, I increased that 20%. Just that's a standard. At least for the last 10 years, health insurance has increased annually, roughly 20%. So I just built that in. And I threw in, if you'll look at the line 1199, that's $10,000 in case I missed something. And you can absolutely knock that out without any question. That was just defensive budgeting. My deal is that you can average, whatever you advertise is all you're going to get. So I always build in a little chub, especially when you have cash. So that was why that went in there. Let me look at operating supplies. So I also was looking at the appropriation report dated June 30, which, is the halfway mark. But as I understood it, a lot of things were still outstanding and had not been built in here. So you actually had only spent 59%, or no, just the opposite, 42% of your 2020 appropriations as of June 30, which is an excellent sign. I also noted in your fund report that you guys have been kind of piling up your cash, which is good. I don't see any reason why you couldn't roll back any of those lines. The professional service, I was told that there were going to be several lawyers, so that again was another defensive. That's a really high budget considering your prior year was 15,000. And insurance, I think I was trying to bring that closer to actual. And other than that, everything looks like normal. Does that help?
Yeah.
So, and I am, I can open up your gateway right now and start encoding the numbers that you want as well. I probably shouldn't do that, but if there's any line items that the council, and I don't know what your practice is, but traditionally in some other units I work with, they'll name a line item and they'll propose a dollar value, and then they'll vote by acclamation that line item should be reduced or increased. The trick is that we cannot exceed what we advertise, but you can lower everything. If you want to increase something like an area where you guys would have absolute control if something was paid out of it, so like a capital asset line, if all of the overages or what you consider exceptional were moved into like a 400 series that isn't spent without council direct authority, that's another option.
Does anybody else have any comments or questions for Janet?
Just real quick, I might have misheard, but when you were talking about FICA, did you say 7.45%?
Yeah, I used 6.2 for FICA and 1.45 for Medicare. Sorry, I did misspeak. It's a combination.
Okay.
So FICA, Medicare. Sorry. You probably thought I was an idiot. Sorry about that.
Oh, I didn't at all. I just assumed that I misheard, but I was just double checking.
Good save. Good catch on that one. Absolutely.
All right. Are there any other questions or suggestions? Ashley, Stan, Carla, any questions?
I have none.
Then Jen, do you want to see any changes, or you want to go with Janet Scott, Michelle Scott, or what would you like to do?
I do have one other question, I guess. For the, I don't know, I guess I could wait on this question, but for the two, the public safety LOIT and the LECE, do those have to be budgeted?
Yes. Actually, that's a really great question. So there's a misunderstanding in local government that unless an item is grants, so grants are easy. So if you get a grant for road improvements, like the body of the grant from like community crossing, it's appropriated by inference. You pass a resolution agreeing to apply for the grant. It's inferred that it's going to be used for reconstruction, resurfacing, or paving. And the matches that are transferred into it are also appropriated money. They're appropriated separately, but it's inferred that that grant for paving is going to be used for paving. It's specific. Another example I like to use is if I walked into the Dayton Town Hall and handed the clerk treasurer $200 and said, I want a red door put on Town Hall. And she brought that to the council, and the council agreed that a red door for Town Hall was like the greatest idea ever, and thanked me for my $200. You could go out and buy a red door, install it, and not have an appropriation. But if I walk in the door and I give you money and just say, you guys are so wonderful, I just really, I want to do something for town employees. So here's $200 for anything you want. You have to appropriate that $200 because the gift is not specific. And the larger answer is that anytime a town spends money in civil towns, it must be appropriated. You must have applied for and obtained permission to spend. That is not the case on enterprise. Enterprise funds are you spend as needed. The board, acting as the utility board, can authorize any expenditure without state reporting or state oversight. And LOAT money, just like edit money, can be used for any lawful governmental purpose. LOAT money is specific to public safety, so fire departments, police departments, juvenile detention facilities, that sort of thing. But it is inherently somewhat specific, but not specific enough to avoid appropriation.
Got it.
Does that answer your
that
question, Jan?
Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
the same with at least the local option income or the continuing ed, because you can use that for so many different things to benefit a police department. It's just not specific enough. And you have money coming in and going out, I think. Although you have a lot of money in there. Your cops are really great.
Yeah. Did you hear that, Scott?
Yes,
So
I did.
I gotta
I'm taking
tell you,
notes.
when I see a department that brings in that much money, that's really great. And you should invest it back into them. My editorial.
Thank you. I'm taking notes.
Feel free. Call me anytime. I'll give you some more tips.
We can get you a red door, Scott. Okay, any other questions or discussion on this, or is this okay to go, or?
It's just hard because we don't really have information from this year. Like, it's hard to make smart cuts without knowing everything. So
I will say that between your revenue and your planned expenses, chances are you're not going to spend everything you appropriated this year. So my back of the envelope estimate was the worst case scenario you'll use if you spent every dime that we appropriated in 2021 and you receive every dime that we think you are going to receive in 2021, you would have to use roughly 70,000 of cash reserves. But we always estimate low on revenue. We always estimate high on spending. And you have managed over the years not to spend very much money. I mean, you have a very healthy general fund cash balance, at least at the end of 2019. So I have other communities that are in no way, shape, or form would I ever say these things. But when I look at your budget, I feel very comfortable. I only have a couple things that I wish you would do, but they're not. It's not with your spending plan.
Do tell.
So, well, I'll just run through my list. So motor vehicle highway, I want you guys to remember that half of your distributions now, your gas tax distributions, are reserved for construction. So you're not going to have a problem right away in MVH, your street department, but at some point you may want to restructure. Not right away, but probably next year or the year after. Your laborers, you may want to move them into your general fund. Your labor costs for your street department are fairly low. I mean, you're budgeting $25,000 a year, so that gives you a window of time. But your gas tax distributions are they're going to run between 30 and 40,000. Actually, next year they're saying you're going to get 46,000. Half of that can only be used for construction. So that's going to become an issue as your balance, your cash balance drops. That's an issue, but it's not an immediate or an emergency problem. You have a couple of funds that probably the money should be transferred into the general fund. Your civil defense siren fund, I suspect that's dormant. It looks dormant. And your CUME-CAP development fund, you are leaving about $15,000 on the table by not adopting or readopting an establishing ordinance, reestablishing that fund. They're estimating that you'll get, yes, you're leaving money on the table. So next year you'll get about $7,000. You could, if you had reestablished it, get around $26,000. So, and I know that from the reports from your former financial advisors, they did recommend reestablishment as well. That's a levy or a rate-driven fund. So the higher your assessed value, the more money you collect. It's at 5 cents per 100. So that's really worthwhile. And your attorney can help you do that. There's lots of guidance on the CLGF website that you can use for that. And another thing I wanted to point out to you is your edit money is just piling up well. And edit money is excellent money for virtually any lawful governmental purpose. So if you are having challenges, that's a place where you could solve some of those problems. You could also transfer both CUME-CAP improvement money to general fund as well as edit money, and that's just on the direction of the council, your choice. And if I haven't blown your mind already, yeah, I do this a lot. This is fun for me. I think that's right off the top. You got some really healthy money also from cable franchise, and that money generally would be deposited into the general fund. There's a couple things that, like riverboat and cable franchise fees in small units like yours, many times that money there's just a revenue line in general fund for that. It's just an observation. But otherwise, everything looks great.
Shannon? Can I ask one question about going back to the CUME-CAP development? When you say leave it, this is like just for me or other people like me that are like just need it in like plain English. So leaving it on the table, that pretty much we're leaving it in the pockets of the taxpayers, right?
It is.
Okay.
You
I wanted
are,
to make sure I'm understanding correctly.
and so that is one of those funds that, because you have edit, so most people established CUME-CAP development funds before edit and LOIT funds were created. So the fact that so that's an excellent point, and I want to suggest that you could also let your CUME-CAP D lapse. The only reason I wouldn't is because edit and public safety LOIT were approved by the county, and what the county give us, they can take it away. And I have examples of communities where they have taken it away. So just something to keep in the back of your head.
Okay.
Janet, this is Carla. I have a question.
I'm sorry, who is this?
This is Carla.
Hi, Carla. Great.
Hi. So all of those recommendations that you just made, is that something you can just put in writing, and so the explanations that you gave, and because you did go pretty quickly, so to try to absorb all of that and understand everything, if that's something that you could put in writing and email to the council members, that would be very helpful, I think.
I can. So I will say that I talk extemporaneously, so I will probably want to listen to the audio and figure out what I actually did tell you as opposed to what was running through my brain. But yes, absolutely. I'd be happy to do that for you.
That would be great. I'm sure Jen would, or Michelle would be happy to get you the audio.
Cool. That'll be great. This week will be a little rough. I'm still winding up with a couple of towns that are not yours, but others that are struggling. So starting tomorrow, I'm going to be really focusing on helping them find solutions to their issues. But so probably next week, I hope that's acceptable.
Sounds good. It's a good idea, Carla.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, great.
Anybody else have any questions or comments from the council? Okay, so everybody's pretty comfortable with this. We need to move on and okay some of these bills, and if somebody thinks of a question, they can pop up and ask it again. So we have some of these bills that we've had now for the 5 days or more that we need to consider. So
Ron, we didn't have any public comments on the budget, right?
we do have public comments, or I thought this was a closed.
No, I'm just
There's
asking
nobody
if
on
there were any.
anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just making sure
Okay.
nobody had submitted written comments, but as long as there are none, then we can move on.
Yep.
And before we go on, thanks, Janet, for taking all this time and helping us with this budget. I know we all need help, and everybody, so thanks a lot. Sounds like you did a good job. So,
Well, I hope so. I appreciate the opportunity to work for the town of Dayton, and you can always reach out to me at any time.
okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we
So,
have Huh?
may I exit, or would you like me to stay on the line?
I think you could probably go ahead and exit.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Y'all take care.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, Jen, you want to start on some of these bills?
I make a motion to approve 2 Alpha Business Technologies invoices dated 9/12 and 10/1, totaling $179.76.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Jen and a second by Stan. We'll have a roll call vote. Jen,
Yes.
Carla,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
and I vote yes, so the motion passes 5-0 to pay Alpha Business Technologies.
I make a motion to approve the invoice from Blue 360 Media for $78.75.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion for Blue 360 Media and by Jen and a second by Carla. We'll have a roll call vote. Jen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Carla,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
and I vote yes, so the motion passes 5-0.
I make a motion to approve the invoice from HR Resources for $4,625.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the invoice for HR Resources by Jen and a second by Stan. We'll take a roll call vote. Jen,
Yes.
Carla,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
and I vote yes, so that passes the pay HR, passes 5-0.
I make a motion to approve the two invoices from Murtaugh Law dated 9/28 and 10/5, totaling $9,744.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Jen, the Murtaugh Law Firm, seconded by Carla. We'll have a roll call vote. Jen,
Yes.
Carla,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
and I vote yes, so it passes 5-0.
Okay, I make a motion to deny for lack of approval and appropriation invoice from Church, Hiddle and Antrim dated 9/30 for $3,785.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to deny for the lack of approval, the invoice for Church, Hiddle, and Atrium. Seconded
Say that
by,
again. Whoa, say that again.
I made a motion to deny for lack of approval and appropriation the invoice from Church, Hiddle and Antrim for $3,785 dated 9/30.
and
I don't
Carla,
think I've sent one. I don't think that's right. So that's for Libby. I think the only one that I've sent on is around like $560.
okay, we can check on that and do that later.
I'll check.
Okay.
Are you sure that you have the right law firm though? Is my question. That's Libby's firm for 3,000.
No, I wrote this all down and I totally might not.
I think that's one for Taylor, Chad, and Manette.
Yeah,
What's the name of that, Reed?
Taylor, Chad, Nanette.
Okay. You want to change that motion, Jen? Or?
yes, I see. Okay. Yeah, it was all one attachment. I think that's why I did that. I just went from the top to the bottom. Yeah, I remove my motion or I whatever. We can just die, I guess.
Okay, the first motion just dies for lack of vote.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the invoice for sorry, I have to look it up to make sure I have the right amount.
Church, Hiddle, and Antrim.
Yeah, for 500. I make a motion to approve the invoice from Church, Hiddle and Antrim for $642.50.
I'll second it.
Do we have a motion to approve the Church and Hiddle Natrim for what, $642.50 by Jen, and seconded by Carla? We'll take a roll call vote. How do you vote, Jen?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And Ron, I vote yes, so that passes 5-0.
Okay. I make a motion to deny for lack of approval and appropriation the invoice from Taylor, Chad, Manette, Schneider, and Clutter PC for $922.10.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to deny for lack of approval, appropriation for how much for Taylor, Chad, and somebody for 900, how much is that, Jen?
$922.10.
$922.10. And we have a second by Carla,
Okay.
so
Just have a preliminary question. So has the full $1,200 already, that was appropriated, already been paid?
I think so.
So,
Or Michelle, has that 1,200 been paid?
The one first check that, yeah, the 600, I think, and the second one, as long as you didn't deny it, that I believe it was either in the September or the October claims docket that you approved, as long as you didn't deny it, and then I can tell it's been sitting in the safe, yes.
Yeah, that was my question. So there's one from September that was in the claims docket, and that amount is $561.10, and I didn't know if that'd been approved or not.
I think that's the one that's sitting in the safe that was on the claims docket. I think if you look, I believe on the September claims docket, that was just approved.
Okay.
I don't
So-
remember it being denied, but it's still sitting in the safe.
I think it was approved, but anyway, on this new motion here for the motion to deny, we'll take a roll call vote. Jen, what do you vote?
yes.
Carla, how do you vote?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ashley?
No.
And Ron, I vote yes, so the motion passes. Deny it for vote of 4-1.
Okay, I make a motion to approve paying Cindy Marsh for the flags she purchased at Menards for the town on 6/23 for $143.68.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve paying for the flags that Cindy Marsh had picked up for $143.68, and seconded by Stan. We'll have a roll call vote, and I'll excuse myself from voting. So Jen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ashley?
Abstain.
And I'm abstaining, not voting. So that passes 3-0 to pay that one. Any more?
Okay, the next invoices are mine. So Ron, if you want to explain them, and then I'll abstain from voting on those.
Okay, I make a motion to reimburse Jen for the following invoices. Office Depot receipt dated 9/3/2020 for $20.74 for 3 copies of the Financial Solutions Group report. Go-to meeting invoice dated June the 17th for 2020, 2020 for $19. Go-to meeting invoice dated July the 18th for $19. Go-to meeting invoice dated August the 18th for $19. And a Dropbox receipt dated 8/14/2020 for $119.88.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve those ones I just listed by Ron and a second by Carla. We'll take a roll call vote. Jen, or Carla, how do you vote?
Oh,
Okay, Carla,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
Ron, yes, so the vote passes 4-0. Okay, any more, Jen?
I don't have anything.
Okay, before we adjourn the meeting, just one quick thing. I'd like to call an executive session for the council's members and our attorney for Thursday at 6 p.m. And Reed, if you could let Michelle and Jen know what to say on the meeting notice for the different sites.
Yes, I
Okay.
will do.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Ron, this is Mark. I've got 3 items I'd like to briefly discuss once you all together, if that would be okay.
Can we do that, Reed? If there was no agenda. I mean, it's for a different purpose, but it's up to Reed if he allows it.
Yes, you can go ahead, Mark. I mean, depending on what the items are, at least
Yeah.
let us know.
Sure. The first item is at the October board meeting for me to look into and present this evening about the plugs for the water meter pits out at Baker Farms. You got a request that developer fund the purchase of those, and he has agreed to. The second item is the Truck Indiana project. I suspect will be moving forward before we have our November town council meeting. And the project, just like the Baker Farms project, will require inspection services to be paid by the developer. So I would like to, I don't know if I need approval or exactly how that all should be worded, but I'd like to go ahead and, through our general services agreement with the BF&S, have them provide the inspection services for Indiana like they are for Baker Farm.
Can we go ahead and make a motion on that, Reed?
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion to have hire BF&S to do the general service agreement for the Truck Indiana, like they do on the other businesses that come in town.
I second it.
Inspection services.
Okay, we got a motion by Ron and a second by Ashley. We'll take a roll call vote. How do you vote, Jen?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And Ron, I vote yes, so that passes 5-0. Got some more stuff.
The last, just one more item. Last item I have has to do more with the budget. I'm bringing up for your consideration, if you would increase my and Scott's monthly health care stipend from $350 to the previous $500. I expect to take a vote on it, but as you're working the budget, I thought now would be the time to make that request. It would involve an increase of $1,800 per year for myself and $1,800 a year for Scott to increase the monthly healthcare stipend to $500 from the current $350. So I just wanted to put that request.
Okay, thank you. We'll take it under consideration. Okay, I think that was, thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
There being no other business before us. The meeting stands adjourned. Thank you, everybody.